Before I get started on the video, I'd like to ask you guys to go ahead and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button and hit the notification checkbox. That way you guys don't miss any future uploads from me and you become part of the notification squad. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video.
What's up, people? YouTube, this really bringing you guys another video to my channel, and today we are going to be covering the top 10 maps from Call of Duty World War II. I was pretty curious as to what would be considered the best maps in the game. I see a lot of people on social media talking about what maps they do and don't like. Sometimes I line up with those thoughts, sometimes I don't. So I feel like this is a Call of Duty game where the maps and the community are pretty divided in a lot of ways. So I felt like since there are only 10 maps in the game, I could make a top 10 list of the best maps in the game from worst to best. And so let's just go ahead and get right into it. At number 10, we have Gustav Cannon, which by far is, in my opinion, the worst map in the game. I absolutely do not like Gustav Cannon. I do know some people who, or one person in particular, who does enjoy Gustav Cannon quite a bit. It can be fun for sniper rifles. Sometimes you can hit some really nice things with sniper rifles on that map, but it's too open. And I understand the need for a large map in a Call of Duty game. There just has to be a large map or two, but this map, it just doesn't mesh well. I think it's definitely one of the worst maps we've ever gotten in the Call of Duty series in general. At number 9, we have Gibraltar. Now this map actually took me by surprise. This is the map that you're seeing me play on right here. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it. I think it's the verticality of it. There's some situations where it feels like you have to look up 3 stories just to be able to tell where people are at. I don't like that type of map, but I thought that the community as a whole genuinely enjoyed Gibraltar. I felt like I was the odd one out, but I guess to at least a significant amount of people, I did a poll to get these results on straw poll, and there was about 200 people, I think, that voted across all of these maps. So a little piece of the community out of that sample size, I guess there's a decent amount of them that do not enjoy Gibraltar, just like myself. All right, at number 8, this one shouldn't come as too big of a surprise. We have Quarantan or Winter Quarantan. I personally would probably put this right next to Gustav Cannon. I really don't like this map that much. Too many windows, too many lines of sights from head glitches and things like that. In my opinion, it's really hard to do well with an SMG on that map, but there's so many situations where SMGs can be useful just because it's hard to get to a building or get to a safe location to properly use an SMG. And I just run into all sorts of issues playing on that map. I just do it for the supply drops and stuff like that. So this is definitely this would have been at my number 9 spot, but community has it at number 8, and it honestly doesn't shock me too much. The next map we have at number 7 is Aachen. So Aachen, once again, this is another map I'm not really fond of, and I would have had this right in this general area too. It's just I'm not a huge fan of the really dark and boring and gray maps, the dreary maps. They're kind of just depressing and not enjoyable, and I don't like the layout of it. Sometimes I do pretty good on it, but it's a map that's really hard to navigate, especially if there's people using the head glitches to their fullest extent, and it's not really enjoyable very often. At number 6, I think this is a very controversial map in Call of Duty World War II. We have USS Texas. I see people all the time on social media. My own friends have said it, that they absolutely do not like this map. I have a very love-hate relationship with this map. Sometimes I like it, but the more I play on it, the less I like it. I just find so many issues with the spawns. Even when I'm on the winning team and I'm pushing people into their spawn, and then it flips, and it's like by the time you run all the way to the other side of the map, they're flipping again. Or sometimes you'll get some really random spawns where you have them pushed into their spawn, but they're still spawning directly behind you in little corners and stuff. And it's super frustrating to play this map, just depending on how the other team is and how they're reacting to situations. And that just equals a very unenjoyable experience at times. Moving on to number 5, we have the London Docks map. So London Docks is actually probably my 3rd favorite map in the game right now, but you guys have it at number 5, which isn't too bad of a placement. I mean, it's landed in the top 5. That's not too shabby. I think that it's a very well laid out map. I think it's a pretty easy map to navigate when you need to. I mean, if you get somebody on that map that's really good, it can be frustrating if they're not on your team, but for the most part, I think that London Docks is a really well made map. It is kind of dreary, which is something that I don't like in maps, like I was saying before, but it's still, I think it's a very clean looking map. Moving on to number 4, we have Flak Tower. This map is fun. I like it. It's, you know, for me personally, I don't use a lot of SMGs in Call of Duty. I only use them for camo challenges, or if I'm feeling like I really want to do good with an SMG, because I'm just, for some reason, I've always lacked gun skill with SMGs. I just, it's so hard for me to win gunfights, and I don't know why. I get into engagements that don't work for SMGs, and I feel like this is a map where I can rock an SMG, and most of the time I do pretty well. So I think Flak Tower sitting at number 4 is a pretty good placement in my opinion, and I'm honestly not too surprised from where the community has put it on the list. Moving on to number 3, we have Saint Marie du Mont. This is by far my favorite map in the entire game. I think it is the most even, nicely laid out, clean map. There's a way that you have to play it that really fits with my play style, trying to control the middle building, and of course your team has to have map control, but if you can hold down the middle building, the whole game pretty much goes smooth, especially if you're playing something like Kill Confirmed or Team Deathmatch, and it's really useful in things like Domination. I just don't play a lot of Domination, so I think that it's a really good all-around map. I think it works perfectly for Search and Destroy. I think it works perfectly for uplink or gridiron, that's what it's called. I think it's got nice hardpoint locations. I just think it's a really, really good map in general. Moving on to number 2, we have Pointe Du Hoc, which I actually expected the community to vote this map way down there. I thought this was going to be in like the last 3 or 4 maps on this list, but I was genuinely surprised to see it in the top 3, let alone the top 2. So this map for me is really enjoyable. I do like playing on it. At first, I didn't like it. It took time for me to get used to the way you have to play. This is another map where I can use an SMG and feel like I can actually do something good with it. But for the most part, it's kind of a niche map. If you're not good in close quarters engagements, if you get flustered super easy, it's not going to work out well for you. There's certain ways you can play it using the outside of the map, but a lot of the time it's particularly good for SMGs and people who are really good at locking onto target super quick. Last but not least, this came as a really big shock for me. I feel like this map belongs kind of in the middle of all the other ones, but we have Ardennes Forest. I personally am not the biggest fan of it. I don't like the way the spawns work. I don't like how easy it is to get stuck in one spawn and not the other. I play solo a lot, so that's what I look at when I'm looking at these maps, is how well do they play when I'm playing alone. And this is a map that for me personally does not work out well playing alone. So I was super shocked that the community actually liked this as number 1. If I was to put this somewhere on the list, it probably would be sitting somewhere around 5 or 6, because I don't hate it. It's just sometimes it's super frustrating, hard to get out of spawns, hard to get to flags, hard to hold positions without just getting instantly shot off of them. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and